Hey. Yep, that just came up.
Excellent. All right. So for those people who don't know, we as a people got a lot going on and a lot of things working against us. And so it's easy for us to. I got it quiet. You hear that in the background noise?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me fix that right now. Turn this all the way down. All right, good. So with all the things working against Black people, it's easy for us to say we need to come together to stop it. We need to come together to stop all the stuff happening to us. But I want to break something down. Governor Charles goes through it. But I personally believe we need to be more divided. Like, we need to be more divided. When you first hear that, Governor, you agree or disagree? What's your thoughts when you hear somebody out here saying we need to be more divided? What do you think about that?
Wow, I mean, averagely, I'd be thinking we need more togetherness than not togetherness. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it hit my spirit. But understanding the way I do is that goes to the thing, just like everybody don't need to be a part of, I'm talking about as far as everybody don't need to be, that's just like everybody don't need to be a police to me. Because the simple fact, some people would ruin it, not to single anyone out, but some people, if you're trying to fix something, it's significant, is what we dealing with the violence. I mean, to me, we need to pull out spectrums of people that can't be on board right now. That's like me, you just getting out of prison and you talking foul-mouthed it, and you come up to me and ask me to give you a job. I can't give you a job like that. You got to be broken down first.
So it sounds like you agree that we need more division then. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what I'm necessarily saying. Yeah, it's necessary to say that.
And that's what I wanted to convey and do this video on, so people would know why that's being said. So what I listed here, I know you're driving, so you gotta be careful. I read it to you.
Yeah.
The argument for more Black division is this, and then I got it detailed here what division means. And it says, when you remove the emotional aspect of the word division, it really serves a real purpose. It creates balanced distribution into groups. So that's what we're saying. Division creates balanced distribution into groups. This allows for something large to be equally shared into smaller groups. Now, when we say we need to come together for what? Who should come together? What we gonna do when we all get together? And that's why I'm against the whole coming together stuff. What we need is more division. And look at what we're dealing with right now as Black people: mass incarceration, poverty, food deserts, racism. We're dealing with failing schools. We're dealing with hiring outsiders to do home repairs when our unemployment rate is off the charts and our Black men are increasingly losing the skills of home repair type jobs. All these protests going on. Which one do I attend? So come together. Who gonna come together? All of them, like, come together to do which part? Where we start? What do you think about that?
Oh, very powerfully said, brother. Because the simple fact, just like you say, I just pick one of them topics: mass incarceration. Come together to, just like you say, to do what? What are we gonna do about that? I mean, that's only one of the challenges. I don't. What, and I'm saying this carefully when I say it. Equipped. The word equipped. Are we equipped? Are we there yet? To the point where we equipped to handle that?
Well, watch this. Because here's the thing. We deal with mass incarceration. As soon as your son get out of jail, he get murdered because we haven't dealt with the violence.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. We ain't covered no bases yet.
We're not in position. So the division, as you can see these 8 boxes here, this is what we're suggesting to everybody. And you notice there's no organization name on here. So this ain't about nobody's organization. This is about, do we have our Black business people division? Is that division together where the Black business people know each other? That's separate from the Black military and police firefighter division. That's a separate group. Separate from the Black educators, separate from the Black protesters, separate from the Black construction people, separate from the Black farming people, separate from the Black politics, legal people, separate from the interracial connected Black people. So if we are organized this way, that division helps us. Now, talking about carjacking, we go to the Black military and police and firefighter veterans, because they know a little bit more about what to do with carjackings than we do if we're a farmer, right? That division makes sense. What do you think about that?
Hey, man, I always say that you don't pick up a wrench to do a screw drive job. You need the right tool first. If I don't know what a screwdriver look like, but here's this person that's a tool person that understands these things, they better equipped than I am.
Big time. Big time. Now, it's this video here, because I want to get this on the record too. I want people to see this video, because a lot of times, I believe Black people are so inundated with all the attacks that we sometimes don't see what's right in front of us. And what's right in front of us is the fact that we all are in a zip code of you in this country. And so organize around something that everyone has applicable to them makes sense. And that's where the block by block concept makes sense, because even if you're in a rural, isolated place in Georgia, you still get a zip code. So by being organized by the zip code, it allows us to touch everyone, and everyone won't care about every subject, but that's team 1 through 8, because if you care about safety, we put you in that bucket. But key is, do you respect what we're talking about enough? And this is where we really want to help our people see that we up against a global attack. And that's what I'm about to do. This here is a global attack that we're under. And you can hear this on my screen, Governor. It's gonna pop up in 1 minute. And the whole world benefits on keeping us on the bottom. Blacks on the bottom. Blacks on the bottom, the whole world. I'm about to show you guys this. I put this up here, right here.
History of America is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are Black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Let's remember, during the colonial period, mid-1600s, there was no such thing as white people. I know some people who are now called white find that shocking, right? Because they think whiteness is real. Right? But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other before we figured out there were other people to kill. We just killed each other, right? I mean, that was the history of Europe. The English hated the Irish, right? Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. The Germans hated everybody, and everybody hated their ass right back, right? There was no team called white, no race called white, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1600s, there was. Why? Why was it suddenly necessary to create this thing called the white race? Well, because rich people can count, that's why. One's old land, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up and they were like, damn, we...
Shocking. Shocking, because
history of America is the history of rich white men telling not
shocking.
Rich white people.
I mean, it's
that
even shocking to me because the simple fact is,
I'm gonna go to the gym.
No, a lot of people don't understand that, because the simple fact, you would think it was something, okay, they just start plotting against us right away immediately. Instead, what he's saying is, hey man, we just sat around killing each other. The stuff that they say we do to each other today as a race.
So now, what you're saying though, you're not surprised, but a lot of our people don't. They don't possibly don't, and therefore they would think that we're the initiators, we're the creators of all this dysfunction.
Right. Right. I mean, that's, well, as we know with history, that goes the Moors too. You had white people, you know, I mean, that's part of history. This is history. I'm not making it up. White people that didn't bathe because of, you know, they didn't know
But they didn't know. Right.
They didn't know about, they didn't understand how hygiene worked. So does
and
that
they
make
can Google
them,
that? So you're not making that up. They can Google that and see that for themselves.
Yeah, it's right there. So I mean, that's just like you're calling me dumb, and we looking like, wow, that's pretty stupid that you wouldn't take care. You could get all types of follicles and diseases from not bathing right. You know.
Yeah, and let me say this, like you just preferenced it too. We had white people who died during the slavery period doing the right thing by humanity. Let me say that again. We had white people who gave their life doing what was right. Not just for black people, even though it was for us, it was about humanity. They knew this was wrong to do what was being done, and they hid Africa to, you know, trying to escape. They did things that cost them their life. So I want to make sure all the white people who are real allies for humanity, that we know, that they know we're not talking adverse about you, but we understand this structure and system was created by people who built the woods, and those are the ones that we condemn to this day, and the sympathizers sympathize for them. So go ahead, Governor. I just wanted to put that out there as a disclaimer to all my white brothers and sisters who really out there doing what's good for us.
And that's real, you know, because a lot. I mean, that's just like if you see something wrong, if you're, you know, you are human. I mean, it's just that spirit in you, you know, that probably attacks what you're doing sometimes. And anybody that's human does have sympathy for people and know not to do the wrong things to people and understand that, you know, and nobody deserves to get treated unhumane. You know, I don't care what race or whatever. We just shouldn't do that as human beings. I don't believe we was put here to just be deservingly evil or something,
right.
You know.
Right. And to keep in mind, so people would know this though, because this is the difference. So I got some, it's SSR, and that means systems, structures, and racial ignorance. Systems, structures, and racial ignorance. That's what we up against, systems, structures, and racial ignorance. And so it's not about Black people hating anybody. I think we've proven we don't hate nobody. If anything, hurt ourselves more than other people, but we're up against system structures and then the racial ignorance. The racial ignorance are the people who just don't know no better, but they benefit from the privilege of being not Black, if you will. So they ain't got to worry about police shooting them to death off of a simple stop, things of that nature. Whereas they just say, why don't they just cooperate? They don't understand because they're not us. So that racial ignorance is that. But the structures we're up against is the fact that we got 7 states in the United States of America that's 90% white. 7 states, 90% white. I put the acronym together so I can remember it. It's 2 I's, that's Iowa and Idaho. That's 90%, more than 90%. All of these are more than 90% white. So Idaho and Iowa. We got 2 M's, Montana, and we got, I knew when I started doing this, I was gonna forget. So we got Idaho and Iowa. That's the 2 I's. We got Montana, one of the 90% white. We got, I can't think of the other M, it's gonna come back to me in a minute. We got the N is New Hampshire, 90% white. We got the V, which is Vermont, 90% plus 90% white. and we got West Virginia plus 90% white. So when you think about that, the impact of these 90% white states is the fact that when we look at three things that happened over U.S. history, a lot of it has to do with the fact that we didn't have diversity in the room when these discussions was being made. So this is the negative impact of the lack of diversity, and when it comes to these 7 states, 90% white. Because if these 7 states that's 90% white had black senators, it would be a different conversation. These are the three things that happened, Governor.
Okay.
1948, the John Marshall Plan came into effect, where U.S. tax dollars sent 15 billion, which was a whole lot of money back then, 1948, to help Europe out. It was called the John Marshall Plan because they had to save Europe from collapsing. So think about that, 1948. 1921, evil white people, not all white people, the evil white people burned down Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. So you had 27 years to do right by Tulsa, rebuild Tulsa, but you said those lives don't matter. You're sending money outside the country. So if it was not these 9 states, 90%, these 7 states, 90% white, the black senators would have said, time out. How we giving Europe money and we got blacks in Tulsa being rebuilt? So the thoughts on that, Governor. Like, that's the problem with a 90% state that's all white.
Well, and you named the disease. That's the disease thing about this. That my thing, that's just like I'm just gonna pick slavery, but just saying I'm sorry for that and not put nothing to right that wrong that was done, because you tore a lot of families and generations apart doing this. You know, that's a big break. It ain't no little break. You know, and not by showing empathy for that. I mean, your empathy ain't just your dollars. It's treatment and the mistreatment of, once again, a person that's a human being.
And keep in mind,
we don't look at our babies as just we don't look at our babies as just something that just happened. We cherish them like you cherish yours.
And keep this in mind, Governor. The key with that, what you just said, even if it's not about you as a person, we're talking about systems, and the system is the political system where these 7 states with 90%, and Maine is the other one. So it's Montana and Maine. Sorry about that. These states that's 90% white, just by them being a state where 9 out of 10 people white, they're going to see things through the lens from their community, which is 9 out of 10 white. They're not going to see black because this is not what's around them. So they're a victim of their own environment where this is what they're seeing, and they see Europe need help. If blacks was there, blacks would say, hey, right here in our own backyard, we need help too in Tulsa. So this is the problem when you got structurally that imbalance, that too many of one side on one end, you know? So that's what I wanted to stress on the systems and structures. And then the last one is the fact of right now. So you got this mother in Atlanta, Georgia, crying because her 12-year-old son was murdered. And she told them that she knew her son was going to get killed. She had him arrested. She tried to get him help. She begged the city to arrest him, get him. And she said help just wasn't there for her. And now what she dreamed, what she saw happening, happened. And he was murdered. And the kids that murdered him was teenagers too, 6th graders, 7th graders, high-fiving and jump on the train after thinking it's all a video game. And you think about that. And then you think about right now, since 1986, we've been sending altogether $544 million to Irish kids. And it's called the International Fund of Ireland. Since 1986, America been funding them to help the Irish kids deal with bullying. And here this lady who asked for help and watched her son essentially do what she feared the most, which is get killed out there in the streets because he was off track. But we saying them Irish children's lives matter outside of the United States of America than this black person who's a citizen of this country. So this is where we up against systems and structures that we're as Black people, we got to make sure we're aware of so we can know how to combat that. What's your thoughts on that?
Wow, that was an earful. I got you. That was an earful right there. But I mean, just like you say, I agree with you. The systems that's in place, and if you're not hurting like me, like I'm hurting, of course you couldn't see what my eyes or feel what I feel or see what my eyes or your heart won't break like my heart. You know, when I'm seeing this and hearing this, the lady had probably wanted bigger plans for her child's future, and here her worst nightmare has come to fruition, and it's not nothing that it's not an accident. It's something that initially and intentionally happened. You know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
and we got the resource. That's what's frustrating. This country helps. We got a $10 billion a year budget in the State Department that we give to foreign aid. So that means we should be covering home base first. If we got money for external, what about internal? And this is why it's so painful to say that these Irish children lives matter more than these Black children through action. Not this ain't side talking. Your actions said it. Because of you put this much money over there and not in our own tax dollars doing what we wanted to do back at home, you know?
Yeah, that's the irony of it, which you know, you look at it, I am a taxpayer, and I should have some right to say where those dollars are going. You know, that's the thing. You got your kid or your interest, a college fund, and head of mine. You know, and head of mine, and you don't plan on giving mine any, you know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And Governor, I said this to my brother from south of the border. I told him, because he's remodeling a house, and I told him, I said, listen, I'm not upset at you. You're doing what any person should do. You should move into neighborhoods where you can afford it. You should build it up. And you should try to grow. Like every human being should do that. I'm not mad at you. What I'm hurt by, more than angry, is I understand that you got systems and structures behind you, and the people who lived there before you moved there, they didn't have systems and structures. They was Black, and they ended up losing their place. So it's hard for me to be happy for you when I know that your happiness is because of the failed structures and systems that made that house available to you. And I told him, so please don't take my non-eagerness to be, you know, in your environment, with you being in this environment. It's just the fact I know the imbalance, I know what's wrong, and to see this continue to happen, it's hard for me to be excited for you. And I told him, I said, the other thing is this, if this was a new space and everyone was just moving there, that's different. But the only reason why this is available is because the ignorance of Black struggle that's causing Blacks to have to shrink and go elsewhere. And so any movement into those neighborhoods is replacement. I said, it is, you know, it ain't that you personally saying I'm gonna replace you, but the ignorance of Black people from banks funding, giving them loans and things of that nature, all the structural and systematic racism is why you can get this dirt cheap profit. What do you think about that, Governor?
Just like I said, I agree with the systems that we up under. That's the proof that we up against the system. Because if it's something that's put together that's supposed to help people, it ain't just gonna save some and do the others in, which you never gave them a chance to get these same things that everybody else is getting. Of course, you're gonna be behind. You're gonna be your struggle gonna be heavier. You're not gonna be able to breathe easy, never, because you're bombarded by this system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just so our people would know, we're not just talking, we got a remedy. We got a remedy for you. We got 80% of the hard work is done. Let me say that again, Black people. 80% of the hard work is done already. It's done. And I'm gonna tell you, if you're writing it down, 55%, the largest part of what needs to happen so that everything you heard us talk about previously can be eradicated, 55% of that is just our structure. Hallelujah. 55% is already done, and that's our structure. What is structure? Structure is how things are lined up. And we got a lineup that is not controlled by no one person or organization. We say no matter who you are, no matter where you are, if you're a barber, we ask you to line up with 8th graders. No matter who you are, if you're a plumber, we ask you to line up with 12th graders. No matter where you live at 60628, we ask you to line up with Dallas, Texas. No matter where you at in Dallas, Texas, we ask you to line up with South Africa. There is a structure in place that's bigger than any organization. And what the structure is lining us up so that we can have the right people in the right lanes to get certain things done because of that lineup. Give us your thoughts on that part alone, Governor, before I go to the 25%. What do you think about that point there?
Yeah, I happen to know this thing that side is saying is genuine and it's real, and it works. It works. It's simple. It's not going to overload anybody, any one person, because it's lanes. It's lanes to this, and this structure that we're talking about is just outstanding. It's unbelievable, and it's simple. It's not nothing hard. We're not talking about nothing real abstract, people.
Well, you know, people gonna say that ain't simple to me, but it's simple if you don't try to learn it all.
Yeah. That's what I mean by staying in lane. I want to be careful when I say that. Just staying in one lane. One lane. You're not trying to move all around. And I'm gonna say just from being around it, I mean, once again, just like you say, Seth, it's hard to hear for some people, but it's fairly easy if you just stay in your lane. I trust me.
That's it. And we know psychologically that's hard for people. But so let me give people the other side. So the other side, what I just shared with you about the structure, that's about your state of being, meaning lined up in the right place. The other part, the 25% that makes it 80, the 25% is the timing, the schedule, the fact that we got to have it set up where it keeps coming back because we might drop the ball. So you got to come back around again. We call it the spindle, meaning we using time in a synchronized way over and over again. What do I mean by that? Every Friday, Seniors Day. Well, guess what? No matter how rich you are, how poor you are, Friday is going to come and go with or without you. So we got something that's unstoppable, which is time, and it's going to keep repeating whether you hear or not. So we took that and said, let's attach loving our seniors to that. When should you love your seniors? I mean, when should you not love your seniors? The bottom line we're saying is let's be intentional. Let's have a plan. Let's not just say I'm going to love my seniors whenever. Let's be deliberate. Let's make sure that we don't miss a beat. So we know we got 52 Fridays a year. Let's knock it out. Let's do half of that. Let's do 20 of that. But at least there's a structure that's tied to time that keeps reminding us of doing it. So everything we talked about on the structure side has its own time set aside for it. What that does is it takes away from the organizational gangbanging. It takes away from the religious gangbanging. It takes away from all the non-for-profit gangbanging, because it's about, if you're a senior, Friday, making sure people loving on you. So it don't matter what your fraternity, sorority is, bike club, none of that. If you're an elder, Friday, we saying, let's show some love to you all over the world. So that timing is the 25%, because that's when you do something. The structure, barbers being lined up with 8th graders, that's just being something. That 8th grade parent got your number as a barber and they ready to help you when you need them. Well, guess what? That's the structure. That's the state of being. That's the 55% that's done already. And so now when we say every first Wednesday is the barber's day, now that barber is asked to do something. What he has to do? Do something for that structure, which says 8th grade. So it is ultra organized. We thank God for putting this together, because it puts us in a position where we got our structure to fight against their structure. We got our system, which is the time to fight against their system. Now the last piece is the ignorance, and the ignorance is just not knowing. And this is what we want you to know: 15 things and just do 3 things. Once we get enough Black people to know 15 things and do 3 things, the whole world changes. What are the 15 things? The 15 things is structure, which is the 8 teams, the business team, the safety team, the education team. You ain't got to learn that now. I just want you to know it's 15 things to learn and we change the world. And 8 of those is the structure. It's so important to have a structure so that we know who's going to fight what. So we dealing with failing schools. That's going to be our structure dealing with Team 4, which is all of our educators, principals, and all those people. They're in the best position to fight failing schools because they in it already. So it makes sense to have that structure, and knowing that we got that structure allows us to fight failing schools. And then the other side is the timing. Well, guess what? Every second Saturday is Teachers Day. So we know when we're going to have teachers' attention. Now we match the timing, all right, 25%. To the structure. Now we can get things done without no one leader or organization. What do you think about that, Governor?
Man, I done already called it a recolonization. Because I mean, just as you said, you ain't got to have one person fighting all over the place. The carpenter don't have to fight the educator because the carpenter got his own life. You know, and we honor his day. We honor that his or her day is the carpenter. Just like we honor the educator, just like if you into culinary arts and stuff like that, you got a day.
Yeah. Now,
That's
you know,
why
the devil's advocate, Governor, what people say, the devil's advocate view on that, people say, well, if I'm a teacher, I got to do something just on the second Saturday. You got all the 30 days, I got to do just that one day.
No, you ain't got to do that. Not at all. Not at all. No.
Well, we want people to know that's the way you look at the days. That's the audit day. You know, whenever you keeping your records for all your bills you paying, you got to set aside some time to review the whole picture. If not, you might miss paying a certain bill because you didn't have time set aside to audit yourself. So these days is when we take time out to review what we did the whole month long on teaching, on carpentry, on whatever. We got to have that date where we review the whole month to see how we did. So that's what these dates are in the spindle. The 25% dealing with timing is the audit.
Which is surrounded by time. I'm glad you brought that word back up. So just like you got a bill that's due on a date, just as Sai said, just worry about your one day. Your one day is this day. We want to make sure you do that day. Now, if you want to do more, that's up to you. But make sure you cover that day. At that specific time. That's all.
Yeah.
It's one thing.
And then the last piece is, and people need to know this, I get the fact that we say we should buy black, but we can't buy black our way out of this problem as a people with all these attacks, because a lot of times when we buy black, too often our black owners still love Europe more than their own community and their own continent. So when we support our black businesses, they go and spend the money with all things Europe, and therefore we got a hole in our boat. We keeping the money in there, but we got this hole, which is the owner of the black business that loves Europe, and they're spending those black dollars right back from Europe the same way we would have been doing if we wasn't buying black. So the black owners got to commit to support black people, just like we ask the customers to support black people. We're not going to job our way out of this, because if every black person had a job, guess what? Because we still love Europe, that means now we got all this money going right back to Europe again. We can't grant our way out of this, because the minute you get all these grants, if the funder don't like what you're talking about, which is black empowerment, they'll cut your funding. Now you back broke again. So we're not finna grant our way out of this. We're not finna vote our way out of this. I just shared with you that there's 7 states, 90% white. One of those states got less people in the whole state than the city of Detroit. Vermont got 587,000 people in the whole state, meaning they got 2 white senators because of that. And then you got Detroit, which got 588,000 people in that city, and that's 100%, almost 80% black, but it's majority black. But because they're in the state of Michigan, they don't get 2 black senators out of there, even though they're bigger than Vermont. So this is why when we talk about voting, that system is rigged because of the electoral college. The way they, back in the day, didn't let the slaves count because then the slave majority would have overran the white majority. And it goes to that video you saw. So voting matters. Make no mistake about it. But please know that we're not going to vote our way out of the issues that we have. And the last one is mental health. Mental health is important, but we're not going to mental health our way out of this mess we're in either. Because guess what? If I give you a mental health treatment for your father raping you every night, but all I'm doing is talking to you about how to cope with it, and I haven't gotten your father out the house, what good is my mental health counseling for you when the problem still exists? Now you just learning how to better deal with him molesting you every night. We have a problem with the world being structured to keep blacks on the bottom because they need us there. So all the mental health, it just gets us by moment because we haven't stopped the very problem that's causing us to need the mental health, the trauma that we're in. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't have mental health. We should. I'm saying it's not going to be the solution to our problem is mental health, because we have a direct beneficiary of our demise, us stand on the bottom, and we got to attack that and deal with that. And that's how we're going to then be able to really counsel us and mental health us, because we stopped the attacks. We stopped daddy from being in the house that's hurting daughter. Now we can counsel her now that the attack stopped. What do you think about that, Governor?
Well, could you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's fixing. You know what I'm saying? Just like you said, we can't. That's just like personal drugs. You can't leave them in the same area and leave them exposed to the same thing they were living in. They need to get away. You need to get them out. They need to go see somewhere where, just as we say, people take that person that's sick like that and get them out of the city first. Whatever city or state they in, get them somewhere else, and then treat.
Do you think it's about? No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. And so the last slide here is what I want to leave everybody with, Governor. And we went over a little bit here. So I hope blacks will be inspired and hopeful for the future and not looking at what they see right now, which looks very daunting as a people. The future jobs for us is in information, travel, and real estate. Those three industries is going to allow blacks to turn the corner and be in way better shape. And then blacks turning things around, the whole world is going to turn around because of just how we operate as a people, how we love everybody, how we there for everyone, we the life of the party, things of that nature. So when blacks get right, it's going to right size the world. So information, travel, real estate, that's the future for the black economy. Then you got the vibrancy. So people say, what that's going to look like? It looks like conventions, appreciation, tours, and summits. The conventions are needed because we got to travel to Gary, Indiana, 52 weeks out the year, meeting, having conventions for every subject, every profession out there. That's going to give travel. Remember I said that's one of the job creators, and let's go boost the Gary economy, one of the 8 out of 10 people, black cities. The appreciations, every month appreciating. This month is neighbor appreciation. Next month is church appreciation, the awards. This allows us to spread love, and spread love fights negativity and hopelessness. So that's why that's a big thing. Tours is how we can share and be in every city throughout the year. We go on tour in every neighborhood throughout the year. 12 tours, 12 cities, 12 months. Now we're getting to know each other in our cities all over the country. Then the summit is always Chicago. That's our audit day. That's when we get together and review everything we did that month. So we need to always take time out to review what we did so we can stay sharp. And that's where the summits come in. That's always in Chicago, the same way the conventions are always in Gary. That's important for all black people in the world. Then the 4 keys, Gary, Indiana, you see the eyes there. Africa, that's the world. You see Chicago, that's the muscle. You see Mississippi, that's the heartbeat. And the purpose of this, they all are in the middle. Gary, Chicago, Mississippi is in the middle of the country. There's a power when you talk about the core of anything. And when you're in the core, You can go both sides, you can go north and south. And that's what Gary, Chicago, Mississippi provides us. Being in the middle of this nation, it allows us to get west, get east, because we're sitting in the middle, and there's some power in that. And then the last one to the right is our forever funding, forever. Not kiss butt, then the white structures go give us money. If we say the wrong thing, they go rescind the money. No, this is forever funding. And it starts with 20 nickels to Mississippi. It starts with 10 dimes for the Gary conventions. It says 100 pennies for Africa and 4 quarters for your local zip code. That's there on the bottom. And it goes all the way up to the red, which is our people who pulled together $1,000 to help us. Every increment underneath that is based on what people can afford. But in yellow, in red there, in red letters, is the bread and butter that I want to anchor with you guys. That's the $12. That's the $12 a year. That's us being able to have, when we got 40 million Black people and we getting $12 from them, that's a lot of money for us to turn all this stuff around. And $12 is not burning out people. So that's the whole presentation. Governor, give us your thoughts on that, then we can close out. You must be on mute. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I go, yeah. Hey, man. Like I say, outstanding recolonization, no burnout. I'm just saying what I see that's real successful about this. Not asking others to help us. Instead, that's that hand up to ourselves. That's well deserved by us. And people, we spend trillions of dollars into the economy a year. I'll say about 2 trillion now into the economy, even at these horrible times. I'm talking about us as Blacks. Right. So therefore, we've been had the money to fund ourselves. That's why this pooling together is necessary in this way, because it burns nobody out with the $12 a year from each adult to help their own zip codes and their own communities. It's just that simple.
Just that simple. Now, so people will say, you say those 15 things we got to know, 3 things to do. The 8 teams is 8 of the 15, and the 7 daily living habits gets you to the 15. That's Sunday Family Day all the way to Friday Seniors Day. So those 8 teams, that's the structure. The daily living habits is the system. And then the 3 things is texting, conference calls, which is Zooms, and then your $12. So that's TC12, text, conference, $12. So when we do those 3 things and we know these 15 things, the whole world changes. All right, Governor, I appreciate you getting on, man, and staying on and helping us break this down. It will be on YouTube for people to be able to learn, hopefully, the way it's structured, how the system is structured. Our number is 312 area code 405-8844. That's 312-405-8844. Any final comments?
Hey, everybody, I ask and pray that you just donate to NBCU, which is how do they donate?
www.nationalblockclubuniversity.com. That's www.nationalblockclubuniversity.com. Or that use the phone number 312-405-8844 for sale or cash 312-405-8844.
All right.